But let's kick things off talking about the Houston Texans, and we'll get into some Cowboys later. Don't worry. If you want to join the conversation, 512-337-3776 is the number. 512-337-3776 is the number for the Specs text line, how you can join the conversation here on the Sports Complex. Some news from some updates from the Dolphins and the Texans were scrimmaging today, doing joint practices. Of course, D'Amico Ryans and Mike McCarthy were both part of that staff of Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco. So those guys were easy enough to call each other up and say, hey, man, let's do some joint practices. And I'll get into a little bit about joint practices in a little bit because Cowboys did not do them this year. But some notes of some guys who looked really good. We saw Dalton Schultz. People are starting to get to another level with Dalton Schultz where he's only 27 years old. We know that in the Cowboy system, he was a really good check down guy, but wasn't used for a ton more than that in Kellen Moore's system. And so it's interesting to see that pretty quickly into this Texans run in the Bobby Slowick offense, an offense that we know that if he's anything like Shanahan, made George Kittle a lot of money, that Dalton Schultz, they're saying, could be a breakout candidate for the Texans this season. That he looks like he is doing some pretty impressive things in camp. Again, it's camp and preseason, so you can't judge too much on that. But Dalton Schultz is somebody that could make – and I feel like he does have that little extra bit of him that is trying to make Cowboys and Cowboys fans regret not bringing him back. He felt he was worth more money than they were giving him. They did the franchise tag thing, everything. Didn't want to pay him the long-term money. He wants to show he could do more. He looks like he's going to be doing that. Jalen Petrie, we know what he did last year, looked very good for the Texans. He is reporting, the reports are he's doing very well again. And Tank Dell. Tank Dell is starting to be a wide receiver that may be slotting into that wide receiver one spot. We know they brought in Robert Woods to bring in a veteran presence, and he's been doing okay. We know Nico Collins has done well. But the more you see about Tank Dell and the separation he gets, and I believe he caught 3 touchdown passes today. And when you watch some of the clips from it and you see the separation he is able to get for a small guy that has to use his quickness and speed and that burst that he has, that Tank Dell, he's going to have, I will say, at some point this season, it'll be national headlines. We're talking about it now, and anybody in Texas is going to talk about it now. But at some point in this season, you will start to see more and more national headlines about Tank Dell being the name Tank and having a guy who's like 5'7" and not weighing that much. That'll be a national headline at some point in the season because he continues to show that he has a special gear that a lot of guys don't have and a connection with C.J. Stroud. So all reports out of the Texans camp seem to be things are looking positive. Jalen Petrie, Dalton Schultz, Tank Dell all stepping up. Texans look good. C.J. Stroud is looking better than he looked in his opening preseason game. Of course, he threw an interception. It's against a Bill Belichick offense. The number one offensive line was not out there as well for him, so the pressures are a little bit more. People seem to be they're a bit more optimistic when you get Laramie Tunsil and if Titus Howard is healthy and everything else that goes into building that O-line for the Texans. If they can get everybody healthy there, then that is something that looks like it could be a much bigger gain. And I'll get into in a little bit about quarterbacks and what this quarterback rookie class can get into. But let's get into a couple other notes real quick. Zeke debuted as a Patriot today. Zeke gets in, shows up at camp, looks, he looks all right, maybe a little tender on the legs, but you can't see too much. He didn't show too much of him running drills. But he debuts as a Patriot, and his signing has drawn some critique from around the league and from media sources that this seems to be a Bill Belichick kind of not understanding the new rules of NFL and being stuck in the past. And I will tell you what I think the reality is. I think they paid a lot more than they should have for Zeke. I don't know how many other suitors there were. Maybe Jerry Jones was there and he helped the Cowboys out by not making Jerry Jones pay $6 to $8 million to bring in Zeke and then try and run him 20 times a game. I don't know how many times Zeke actually runs the ball for the Patriots. It's going to depend a lot on his ability to get his average up over 3.5 yards. If he can get his average up to closer to 4 yards, he'll run the ball decently for for the Patriots, he'll get a lot of goal line carries and red zone and short yardage. He'll get those carries. If his average starts to drop on that low 3 and he starts to not be able to break those tackles from behind the line, because this is the problem. This is the real reason Zeke went to New England, is because they're worried about protecting Mac Jones because they don't feel they have the O-line there anymore. And so if they don't have the O-line and they don't have a quarterback that they know that they can trust, like a Tom Brady, to work around an O-line and know where to be and get his guys in, and with a system like Bill O'Brien's, they want to have a little bit more time for him. So you bring in one of the better pass protectors in the league, and that's why you brought him in. Now, the problem is if you cannot average, if you're averaging under 3 yards a carry, you're almost unplayable because it means everybody can just drop back into coverage. You know, you may pass, but you don't have to. You understand it's a pass play if he's averaging under 3 yards a carry. So they need Zeke to play at a level to get over 3 yards, around 3.5 to 4 yards a carry. And I don't expect him to do over 4, but let's be honest, that I think is a dream that if that happens, then Bill O'Brien is doing a much better job of drawing up run plays than I'll give him credit for. But the reason that Zeke right now is in New England and not anywhere else is because he was not necessarily brought in to be the running back for the New England Patriots. Ramondre Stevenson is the running back. He's going to get the very much bulk of the carries. Zeke is there to pass protect because they're trying to protect Mac Jones, because Mac Jones wanted out of New England last year. Mac Jones was done with New England after they did the stupid experiment of having a special teams coach and a defensive coordinator trying to coach the offense. After that experiment blew up in Bill Belichick's face. And then we saw the great part that Bill Belichick was talking to Zeke today, which I think is just a hilarious conversation to see that Zeke and Bill Belichick having a conversation. Doesn't seem like, I get Jerry Jones and Zeke having conversations. I don't see Bill Belichick and Zeke having anything in common to talk about. But I know I'm on Mike McCarthy about being a head coach and talking to everybody. You want to have it. I want to have Bill O'Brien in that meeting because Bill Belichick, we know, coaches the defense. We know he looks over the offense, but Tom Brady coached the offense for years. He needs to let Bill O'Brien come in and coach this offense if they want to have any hope of anything happening offensively for the New England Patriots. And when he says, no, I went in and talked to him, we discussed what he's going to do. You need to get Bill O'Brien in on those meetings because Bill O'Brien needs to be calling the plays. Because Bill Belichick, you are not an offensive whiz. You are one of the best defensive coaches in the leagues. You're a great head coach, not an offensive wizard. We saw that last year when you tried to take it over and give it to Matt Patricia and give it to Joe Judge. We saw how that ended up. So you need to pass that over, and I don't like Bill O'Brien. Believe me, I don't like Bill O'Brien. But I will say he's way better at calling offensive plays than anybody else that was handling that New England staff. Over in the Jets world, Breece Hall came back, is starting to come back. They start to feel that he is coming back off of his injury from last year. Dalvin Cook joined the team today, officially signed the contract, was on the practice field. He's not going to be ready to play. I know everybody's very excited for Jets Week 1 versus Buffalo. Dalvin Cook may not be ready to play in that game. He's coming off a shoulder injury last year and a shoulder surgery, so he may not be ready to play Week 1, so that may not be the matchup of Cook brothers that everybody wanted. But I think that when we talk about what is happening in New York, which is similar to something that is happening in Dallas, and there is a big difference of two things that happen between Dallas and New York, is that they signed Dalvin Cook because Aaron Rodgers says, I need another guy to run the ball. I don't necessarily trust Breece Hall. This goes into his track record of not trusting young guys, even though Breece Hall seems to be good. I get it. You want to have multiple running backs. I'm fine with it. I don't know if his reasoning is the same as mine, but I'm fine with wanting to have another running back on this roster that you can trust because it was a problem for the Jets last year. Michael Carter played well too, but I'd prefer to have Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall and then have Michael Carter as a change of pace kind of guy in there than have a system of Michael Carter and just him running the ball. If Breece Hall goes down again or if Michael Carter goes down, I prefer to have the 3 running back system in today's NFL, which is what the Cowboys are dealing with too. But you know what the Jets had today? You know what the Jets have been dealing with? Aaron Rodgers has started to get a little bit closer to complaining. He's still being nice. But Aaron Rodgers is getting that little bit closer to complaining, that little bit closer that you can tell. And he goes, it's not, I'm not stressed about things I can't change. I didn't say I'm okay with it. That says I'm not stressed about things I can't change. He says, That's not as of this time. It's not my thing. I'm not dealing with the O-line and who's playing day to day. But we'll need to get that figured out. Aaron Rodgers is getting closer and closer and closer to being the Aaron Rodgers we all know. And I can't wait for it to happen. I'm rooting for a lot of these Jets guys because that's who I am. You want to see guys succeed, but this seems like it's a powder keg. And, man, if they don't figure out this O-line problem, and if Dalvin Cook, who's an okay pass blocker, Breece Hall, kind of in that Deuce Vaughn pass blocking world of not really trying to – and like he wants to try, but he's not going to he doesn't have the body to go in there and push guys around. I don't know if Rodgers may be getting a little mad week 2 or week 3 at these running backs, and Dalvin Cook, we'll see if he gets happy when he's got to come in and Aaron Rodgers starts telling him he just wants him to pass block. I don't know how that's going to start panning out for the Jets. It seems like this is the first sign we've seen of the Jets starting to go down. And I know I don't watch Hard Knocks. I don't keep up with it. I don't watch reality television. And so I can't play you clips from Hard Knocks and all the funny stuff. I do have a clip, though, I want to tell you, because we shouldn't have Hard Knocks anymore. We don't need it. I'm just not a huge fan of it. If you like it, whatever. Good for you. I'm done with disparage at all. But I will say, the camera crew that we need to follow around is Jamal Williams. We saw him on last year's Hard Knock. Wrap it up. Jamal Williams, best character that's ever happened in Hard Knocks history. And he had a quote the other day, and this is a few days old. I talked about it the other day, and I didn't get to play it for you. So instead of giving you Hard Knocks updates, like everybody else seems to be doing, I'm going to give you a Jamal Williams update because Jamal Williams is just a wonderful human being. Here's Jamal Williams when asked about going to New Orleans and about if he's tried beignets yet. And just enjoy Jamal Williams giving you what he can't give you on Hard Knocks this year.
Yeah, I'm not impressed. It's just a funnel cake. It's just a funnel cake. So, yeah, the beignets is just a funnel cake. I'm sorry. I'm not from – I just got here. I respect y'all, your beignets and all that. But in California, we just call them funnel cakes. So, well, that's just where we know them as. I tasted it. It tastes just like a funnel cake. So, that's all. But it's good, though, if you like funnel cakes.
There you go. I love it. I love Jamal Williams. He is the most entertaining player for interviews, for clips, for anything. I don't need a Hard Knocks. I just need you to send me 30 seconds of Jamal Williams once a week, and it'll make me smile for a week. There it is. Jamal Williams talking about beignets and calling them beignettes, and they're just funnel cakes. That's what we call them in California. These beignettes are funnel cakes. Let's talk some Cowboys. Cowboys scrimmage today. We get to see a little bit more of that temper flaring up for the Cowboys. Things start to get heated. We saw a little dust up. Sam Williams was getting upset going after the second string offensive line. Tyler Biadasz comes in and cleans it up. Later on, we saw Sam Williams get his hit back on Biadasz, and things had to get separated a few times. It is getting to that point. It's hot. Everybody hates to practice. You are practicing nonstop. We are getting you to that time. So this is where we're at for Cowboys. They're starting to get in there. Now, what's funny is, and we saw afterwards some guys came out and said, you know what, this is okay because, I know we're fighting against each other, but once we get out on the field against other guys, we're going to be on the same page. But I feel there is a slight divide in this Cowboys roster right now. And it may not be there fully. Once we get to the season, maybe it'll be different. But right now, it feels as if that this Cowboys team is very much an offensive and a defense. And we will see if the fact that they did not want to do joint practices, that they wanted to bond together at all being in Oxnard, California, as opposed to trying to go and become a better team and playing somewhere else where so many of these other teams want to do, joint sessions. And you know what the great part about a joint session is? When you get to that point in camp where you're kind of frustrated and you get into these dust-ups, then you got someone else and your team can come together and go, screw those guys. We're in this together. They're against us. And when Mike McCarthy is coming out and saying, hey, man, I don't know what the defense is doing. I'm too busy calling plays on offense. It seems to me that this team may get a divide somewhere in it. It seems to me that may be a case. Now, maybe this culture in Dallas is strong enough. Jerry Jones, one thing I'll give him credit for, he does build a great team atmosphere. He does get the players a lot of luxuries and brings them together to where the families are a part of it. So it makes it much more of a family element than a team element. So maybe they'll be fine. But I really wish the Cowboys had been part of the groups to play another team, to not be afraid of it, to not say, oh, no, we're good enough. We can practice against each other. Really? Don't you want to see if your O-line can stop somebody? Because you can stop Micah Parsons. Do you want to see if you can stop somebody else? Do you want to see how Dak throws against another team? Or is it because you're protecting Dak? Something that I saw today that I want to share with you guys. Jory Epstein from the UPod to Win the Game, UPod to Win the Game podcast, had an insight that I had not heard about from Cowboys camp about something that they are teaching the wide receivers this year that is a difference. And I don't know if it's part of the analytics team that they brought in that Mike McCarthy's talked about. I don't know if it's part of just a Mike McCarthy thing or a Schottenheimer thing. But apparently they have started teaching the wide receivers a different way to time routes. That's interesting, and I'm not against it. I've talked a lot of bad things about Mike McCarthy, but this one I might be on board on. This is Jory Epstein from the UPod to Win the Game podcast.
What was actually most interesting to me from the Cowboys, sort of the way they're training their receivers differently this year. And under Mike McCarthy in a more West Coast system type offense, they're saying like, no, we really need to time our receivers' routes with Dak Prescott's footwork and his dropbacks. And so the receivers were telling me that for the first time that they've been here, when they are learning their routes in meetings, it has up on the screen, like, here's how many steps Dak will be taking on his throw in conjunction with this route. The really big thing there is that when you have the interceptions that they had, and Dak led the league in interceptions last year despite missing 5 regular season games, it's because a lot of times they weren't on the same page and they were reading the defenses differently on option routes. While that's not a new concept in the NFL, I do think that given the interception trend that they had last year, this is what this offense needs at this time.
I love it. I do like it, and she says it's not new. So it's it seems like something someone would have figured out before, that you're really worried about the steps back and the steps in the drop, but this is part of what you've needed to do for Dak Prescott for years. And it worked because they did it his rookie season. And that's when we really saw, okay, that's where the potential could be. You understand how the NFL works today and how your team is built. Your team is built to win defensively, and your team is built to have a pretty good offense, but an offense that, you can't expect Dak Prescott to be a hero. I've never expected that out of him. I think he's better than a lot of quarterbacks who try and be a hero all the time, that don't know when to get rid of the ball, don't know when to, to make things much worse. And when his interception rate went up last year, that's a problem with that, because you can't have a game manager who throws a lot of picks. But that also goes into trying to make Dak Prescott something he's not. If we know the NFL today is, hey man, you have to have a pass game. You cannot just run the ball. You have to have a pass game, and you have to have a quarterback that's somewhat manageable to do this. And Dak's manageable. You need to have that. You need to build the game kind of around Dak Prescott and go CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks. Those guys are good enough. If we just train them to work with Dak Prescott instead of the other way around and try and have Dak Prescott play up to their level, have them play at Dak's level, and then let them build plays where they can get into space and do a lot more yards after catch. It was something that Green Bay was very good at, and Mike McCarthy has done this before. Yards after catch. So you let your receivers make routes, time their routes to Dak Prescott, and try and get their skill level to elevate Dak Prescott's play, as opposed to Dak Prescott trying to elevate himself to match the play of CeeDee Lamb or Brandon Cooks. It's a different way of looking at how to use your quarterback in the best way possible, and trying to train the wide receivers, who CeeDee Lamb, we know, is more teams would want him than Dak Prescott. I think Brandon Cooks is that same class. They're a higher level player than Dak Prescott is right now. But if you can elevate the entire team to play at a higher level, I'm very much for that. I think this probably goes into more of the analytics of realizing, hey, man, when he takes 3-step drops, you do pretty well. When he takes 4-step drops, you guys suck. Hey, how do we fix that? Well, we teach the wide receivers when does he take these steps. And you can also make those calls differently when you realize these kind of trends in the setup. All right. Let's get to Patrick's Big Fat Poll of the day. Yesterday, we asked you who is the most overrated player in college football going into the 2023 season. We gave you some of the top quarterbacks is basically what we came up with. They seem to be the guys that people were mentioning the most for us. So we went to those. We gave you Caleb Williams, Drake May, Bo Nix, and Jaden Daniels. And Bo Nix has run away with it at over 55%. So you have rooted Bo Nix as somebody that, and I'm with you. I think Bo Nix could very easily be the most overrated quarterback going in to the 2023 college football season. Let's be more positive today because I've been very negative about the Cowboys. Here's Patrick's Big Fat Poll of the day today.
Patrick's Big Fat Poll of the day on the Horn.
All right. Big Fat Poll of the day today. Join the conversation. 512-337-3776 is the Specs text line. Cowboys need a player to step up. We know Micah Parsons is going to be good. We know that Trayvon Diggs is going to be good. You know CeeDee Lamb's going to be good. But who's going to be the breakout player for the Cowboys this season? I'll let you throw in Tony Pollard. I'll let you throw in Deuce Vaughn. Could it be a defensive player? Could it be DeMarcus Lawrence? Could he be the breakout player this year and go, hey, no, he's going to give you a second edge rusher alongside Micah Parsons? Is it going to be Stephon Gilmore? Is he going to be it? Is Brandon Cooks going to push CeeDee Lamb for the number one wide receiver spot? Who's going to break out and step above what their role is supposed to be? Who's going to break out and be the bigger players? Mozzie Smith going to come out midway through the season and have 5 or 6 sacks midway through the season and go, man, this guy's wrecking shop up the middle. Who is going to come out and impress and be the breakout player for the Dallas Cowboys this season? That is Patrick's Big Fat Poll of the day for today. 512-337-3776 is how you join the conversation. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Quan Cosby is going into the Texas Athletics Hall of Honor, class of 2023. He joined Ian Rodby this morning. We're going to play you that interview. Quan Cosby is an awesome dude, and he's always been nice to me every time I've been around him working for the station. So we want to show him some more love and play that interview. When we come back here on the Horn, 1019 AM 1260, the Horn FM app, and thehornfm.com. Back on the Sports Complex here on the Horn. Musical theme of the week. We just want some rain. Doing our rain dance here on the Sports Complex, trying to get us some. I saw a report. I saw somebody say that there might be some rain next week. There's a chance it might actually rain in Austin next week. So we're holding out hope, doing our rain dance here on the Sports Complex. Quan Cosby, Longhorn legend, lifetime Longhorn legend, we'll say that, is going into the Texas Athletics Hall of Honor class of 2023. He joined E and Rod B this morning to talk about the honor, some other things, Texas football, all of that. Always been a great guy every time I've talked to him when he's been up doing things with the radio station. Always been a great guy when you see him around campus. So a great honor for Quan Cosby. And here's the interview from Ian Rod B this morning talking to Quan Cosby.
Can we go to the Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina Hotline? And welcome to the show, someone who's been on these airways many, many times. But first time we've been able to talk to him since he has been announced that he is going to be enshrined in the Texas Athletics Hall of Honor class of 2023. He, along with 5 other men's athletes and 5 women's athletes, will be going in and inducted September the 15th. He is the great lifetime Longhorn wide receiver and kick returner Quan Cosby joins us. Hello, Quan. Congratulations, my friend.
Congrats, brother. Congrats on that.
Hey, man, I appreciate that. E and Rob B, man, that's a dang good group right there, brother. This is fun. It's been fun listening to y'all. And I'm gonna tell you, as much as we're gonna talk about that, I actually have a weird story to add to the Michael Orr situation.
Oh, throw it out there.
Me and my twin brother, y'all know we were adopted.
Yes.
Well, we were actually almost adopted twice. A very similar situation happened where we went into an attorney's office and we're supposed to sign over our rights. And I'm telling you, dude, I'm freaking 12 years old and something didn't feel right. And I told my brother, you do not sign that. And we didn't get adopted by that family. And we ended up getting adopted by the family that I lived with for the rest of my life and all of that. So when I heard that story, I was like, oh, no, I know this is very real and just random as it gets. But, yeah, no, that stuff is real. So it's going to be ugly. It's kind of wild.
Yeah.
That's
Sugar.
crazy.
What a great, it's always a part of your story, Quan, you and your brother adopted and then, great athletes both and off to Major League Baseball and now back to the Longhorns. What was that phone call like when you got it? That I know you still work at the university, with the university and have a lot of friends there, but did you know ahead of time or was it a surprise phone call?
No, man, it was absolutely a surprise phone call. And then ironically, one of my buddies said, see, and I wouldn't tell Jordan this, but he's like, dude, you're going in to the Hall of Honor and as one of the best football players and golfers. And so he's full of crap. But I was actually golfing, surprise. And CDC called me, and he called me like 3 times in a row, and I wouldn't answer. And, of course, I've talked about me and his argument relationship that we have. And so finally he called me a 4th time, and I was like, I got to answer this. What's going on? And so the funny piece about it is I'm on speakerphone. I hear other people, and it was Chris Polanski and my man Ricky Brown in the background, and he just goes straight to it. I'm calling you, and you don't answer the phone. I see how it is. You want to big time me? And I was like, dude, what do you want? Why are you calling me, especially 4 times? And he's like, all right, brother. Congratulations, you're in the Hall of Honor. So we all bust out laughing. And he's like, and I got Chris Polanski and, Ricky Brown in here. And I go, hey, man, all you had to do was have one of them call, and I would have answered on the first time. And so that's how my call went. And typical Chris and Quan conversation argument. So it actually, of course, it's never straight down 35. It's always the Wade's route when him and I talk. And so it got real special, real fast. It's still hard to kind of process with so many amazing folks that are in that hall and going into it this year. So, man, it's a weird deal, to be honest with you, but it was funny, and I like the way it happened because it was genuine and true to how we communicate.
That is so perfect. You on a golf course and CDC can't get a hold of you. That's awesome. You guys are kind of like star-crossed, you two. You like to argue and get cantankerous. Rod, what do you got?
Hey, Quan, you've obviously achieved a lot. That's why you're getting this honor to go into the Hall of Honor, and congratulations once again. On the 40 acres, what was your achievement that you're most proud of? That, what's the high mark for you in terms of all the things that you accomplished on the 40 acres?
Oh man, that's a great question, especially coming from the lifetime legendary Longhorn Beef. Man, you know what it is, and will be a surprise, but not a surprise. You know, I was fortunate enough to get the citation award earlier this year, and good Lord, man, to do that with Mountain and Rex Tillerson and Srinivasan. I mean, these people are crazy and extraordinary for what they've done, not just in Austin, but across the globe.
Wow.
And that would have been one of the big ones, and this one, I mean, I think those two are actually equal. I think for me, and we started with talking about a rough situation on how I grew up, and I was the second person in my family to get a college degree. So I think that by far the most important thing I ever did on that campus is make sure I finished, get that college degree, because that's catapulted into generational change in my family. I was the second person in my family to get a college degree.
Wow.
We now have about 14 members.
Oh.
And so whether it's, I think 6 or 7 is 4-year. My aunts, one of them, my biological mom didn't even have her high school GED. She went back and got her associate. So it just changed generationally how we look at education, what my biological and adoptive family have done from an educational standpoint. So I think walking across that stage as a 27-year-old, that's by far, I think, the most important thing that happened for me. And then just the relationships, you guys, players, administrators, all the above. It's still to be continued. And this place have lived up to the Coach Brown told us that family thing. And there's some work to do on that since he's gone, but it truly has lived up to it from my standpoint.
No question. Yeah. Going in with a teammate of yours on that national championship team, Jonathan Scott, along with Jordan Spieth, Chris Kirchner, James Means Jr., which is a great one. He broke the color barrier in the Southwest Conference, and David Denny from baseball. We'll run through the women's going in as well here in a moment. But Quan, it sounds like that answer you just gave to Rod, you were in that locker room in 2005 after winning the Rose Bowl and the national championship when Mac famously said, don't make this the best thing you ever do. Don't make this the best night of your life. That just gives people chills. But you've lived that, right? I mean, you just said generational change for your family, getting a degree. But that was where it started. You were a freshman on that national championship team, but profound words from one of your mentors, Mac Brown.
Dude, man, I remember there's a few things I get goosebumps about. Crazy games, things, songs, because I'm a terrible singer, and just that. I mean, dude, when he said that night, I just remember sitting there at one of the coolest and most special experiences night to be a participant. But it was so real. I was like, dude, I get it. You're good. I mean, you got a mouthpiece like no other, but that's just different. Like that, I couldn't believe his first natty.
Mm-hmm.
It was still so empathetic to life. I was like, golly, man, me and Mac, I've been pissed off at Mac, he's been pissed off at me, but that was a moment of just real. It's why I think I give him so much grace about so many things, and I mean, of course, he feels the same way about a lot of us, but it was a cool moment, and I've tried to live up to it. As I say, I'm perfectly imperfect, but the trying to live up to that piece of it, not just for him, but for the brothers beside me, for the guys who are in the locker room right now, of course, family as well. It's a cool thing, man. And really, it's funny because I guess in a roundabout way, I still am involved with certain UT stuff and certainly conversations about all things going on. But my role on campus now, it's why it's not just sports focus. It's about the campus experience for students, for first generational students, for all the above. So, man, I don't know that I've lived up to it yet, but I certainly wake up every day trying to. And unfortunately, because of so many folks in this city, y'all, man. I mean, again, the amount of conversations I've had. I mean, dude, there's some real mourning going on out there about the changes. Now, I know, fortunately, there's COVID sucked, but there's some silver lining in it. There's some dang good silver lining in you guys being together now. That's an all-star cast. But just the impact you make on people is super important to me, and I think in this walk of life. And y'all do it. So many folks do it, and I hope I can kind of live up to that as well.
Yeah, that's why you're being honored in the Hall of Honor.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, Quan actually did receive the the university's Presidential Citation Award, which is an award given. It was created like in 1979, honors the extraordinary contributions of people who personify the university's commitment to the task of transforming lives, and is the highest honor bestowed by the University of Texas at Austin. And my man Quan Cosby did get that honor. So another congratulations.
Congrats, man.
Yeah, so that's for those who don't know, that's why he's talking about now it's more about the experience at the university and for the community at the university, not just the athletics department. So Quan, now that I got that out of the way, because I want people to know that when you were talking about the citation award, I don't think people understood exactly what that meant. That's the highest honor that you can receive at Texas, and my man Quan has gotten that. But I want to ask you about this team, because you've been around some great teams at Texas. You know what a great culture looks like. You know what it feels like. You know what it sounds like. You know what it smells like. You've been around the culture there that Sark is building. Is it anything familiar to you?
Brother, man, that's so real. And it was funny because we go back to you and Hart's conversations with me and E and Bucky's conversations. And I always talked about, I was like, man, we got some players, but we still don't have leaders. We still don't have this. The culture feels a little off. And I'd probably, if we're looking at a tank, quarter, half, 3/4 full, the culture, in my opinion, is the closest thing. We still have the players. We're full on that. Our roster's pretty dang good. But the way they prepare, I laugh. We play this game, and it's you have fun, and all of that's important, especially at the high school level. But when you get at this level, especially in NIL world now, it becomes a business. And so they have a business-like mindset, even to how they're stretching, preparing, paying attention, wanting to develop. I remember we read all the stuff about how Vince was on their butt. They responded to that stuff. I think before it was kind of like, oh, we hear you, but yeah, you're old school, bro. We're going to do it our way. And that's just not really the case. I'm going to the scrimmage Saturday. I was talking to Bianco and Sark yesterday. He actually talked about it. Listen, Mac is in his own world per how he manages relationships. But I'm going to tell you, dude, Sark is not far. And I'm removed, old school. I even try to give them their space to a certain degree, but he reached out, said what he said, and said, hey, man, it's going to be a good scrimmage Saturday. Come swing by. Him and Bianco said that. So I'm going to go by there and try to see that scrimmage, hoping that it's exactly what I've seen before. And it's a different feel. I don't know if it's – and who the heck knows? We all know. As much as we worked our butt off and kicked butt to win that natty, we had some breaks. That just happens in football. And I will say, if they go with where they are now culturally and the roster they have, and they actually continue a level of development during the season, who knows what can happen. But I think where they hoped for things before, they're embracing being the hunted as those who are picked to win the Big 12. And how you embrace that, the work you put in, and they're putting in some real work.
He's Quan Cosby, not just the Presidential Citation Award this year, but the UT Hall of Honor now, class of 2023.
Stacking them up.
Hey, Quan, real quick, and last thing is we're gonna extend the segment here a little bit because I got you. I know I use you as an example all the time when we talk NIL, and you've told me this story before about coming back from baseball, and you had been in the business of sports, for 4 years of your life, and you understood how important, the connections you could make at UT were, and even before there was NIL. Now we have NIL where these young players and student athletes are able to meet with and get to know some really important people that can help their lives beyond sports. And you did that. I thought this was a cool thing. Can you share that story with you and Mac Brown, and Mac helping you to meet with important people while you were at UT within the rules to make sure that when you left Texas you had a head start on connections and relationships?
Yeah, man. It was certainly within the rules. I did not even get a fraction of the dollars these cats are giving. but I did get an insane amount of business cards. I got an insane amount of meetings. And it was Coach Brown, and it was also Powers and DeLoss. I mean, I would meet with Powers because I was older. I came back 22, 23 by the end of that season, and I would meet with Powers quarterly. I would meet with DeLoss quarterly. And, then, of course, I would spend almost every day with Coach Brown. And being older, understanding the offense, guys would come to practice, and I'd be like, hey, coach, I'm going to take a couple plays. He's like, yeah, go shake their hand. That's XYZ. You need to know him later on. And then we translate that to the off season of going to Dallas or Houston and meeting with, different donors and alum. And again, I had to buy my own meal and things like that. Unfortunately, I had a little baseball stash that I could do it with, but it was, and even I do that. I think maybe a week and a half ago, I did not play golf, but I went to River Oaks, which is, that club is stuffy, by the way.
Oh yeah.
But,
hey, I went to school. I went to high school in River Oaks.
Bro, that club is stuffy. I want to play it, but it's stuffy. But I sat down with John Atkins and Bob Moser. And so those are things that I've been doing since 2005. And we sat down, we talked about the state of UT. We talked about, because he's on the athletic council or something. There's so many councils we had no idea about. But he's on that. John led it at one point. And just talked about this year, talked about development. We got a new development person. And so I was talking to Chuck Harris, who runs our Texas Association, and it dawned on me that I've actually talked to a Texas Exes group everywhere from Amarillo to Tyler to El Paso to San Antonio, and now the Rio Grande Valley. And so that's what I learned from Coach Brown, and it was so smart. And now what's cool about it is I had to worry about so many rules. I'd always talked to compliance before. That's not a worry anymore, and it shouldn't be. Yeah, people hear about the dollars, but they don't hear about, the guys just truly sitting down. Me and Lamar talked about Lamar Houston, sitting down, meeting. Lamar is actually, the dude has his MBA, phenomenal story, but he's doing what I did in 2005. And so he's that many years removed from it. And it had a lot to do with my age and being in the sports business.
That's true.
And understanding the macro level of things. I saw the big picture very differently at that time, coming back older. So yeah, man, you're right on. Coach Brown did that, still does it. He has more contacts than half the people I know. And if between him and the president's office, if I need to reach out to somebody or sit down and talk life, sports, work, we still do it. So it's the Longhorn Nation that we often talk about. It's always so fun. And me and Rob B's been down at basketball games, and he's in that section, and I occasionally get down there. And and it's those folks that are in those sections that just you want to be friends with and celebrate the Longhorn family and do business together, but ultimately pull for the horns and be that family that we were sold and recruiting. So, yeah, man, Coach Brown was one of the best at it, and fortunately, because of being older, I try to live up to it and take advantage of it.
Quan, congratulations, man. Well deserved. No one represents
awesome.
the UT as well as you do in my mind, and always great to talk to you. Thanks for the thoughts. Let's talk after the scrimmage and give us some intel. Don't burn any bridges, but we want to find out what you think, right? You'll be watching.
Hey, man. Hey, thanks to y'all and doing radio. I know how to say it without saying it.
That's right.
Amen, brother.
Absolutely, man. Hey, Hooker, baby, I appreciate y'all, man.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Quan.
Quan.
Congratulations again.
Going in. That's good
the
stuff.
legendary lifetime Longhorn Quan Cosby. Yeah,
Indeed.
talk about a fan favorite. Yeah, and I don't think people knew about the University Presidential Citation Award. He was given that in I think April.
Yeah. Then we'll think about, again, Quan's a good friend. Spent many around playing golf with him and talking, and he came from a tough spot. I mean, growing up in Waco and adopted when he was 12 years old. And, from that to what you just heard for 15 or 20 minutes, what he's achieved and what he's accomplished and how he gives back, because of course we're praising him and he would come back and, well, your guys' show's really good and thanks for what y'all do. And then, he deflects from his stuff to Lamar Houston.
Always
That's how
does.
Quan does.
Yeah.
And he's always looking to help, and certainly helping the university. And that's why he is Quan Cosby.
There you go. Great interview from this morning from Ian Rod B. You can listen to them every morning right here on the Horn from 6 to 11 a.m. there with Quan Cosby going in to the Texas Athletics Hall of Honor class of 2023. When we come back, we'll get into some of your text. And Patrick's Big Fat Poll of the Day, who will be the breakout player for the Cowboys this season? Tell us on the Specs text line, 512-337-3776, 512-337-3776. Tell us who will be the breakout player for the Cowboys this season. Coming up, we'll get your text all here on the Sports Complex on the Horn, 1019 AM 1260, hornfm.com, and on the Horn app. There you go. Back on the sports complex here on the Horn, doing our rain dance. The theme of the week is rain, trying to get some to come back for Texas, for Austin. It would be so nice to see some rain, and I'm usually not a big guy of a big supporter of rain. True story, my house was struck by lightning twice as a kid growing up. Struck an AC unit on one side, blew out everything in the house, was very scary. Struck, then we had to fix everything. They put an AC unit on the other side of the house. It blew that open too. So yes, I'm not a huge fan of rain, but we could use some. I would prefer to have some here in Austin. Maybe cool down the weather a lot. So doing some rain dance for you here on the Sports Complex. Patrick's big fat poll of the day. The question of the day for everybody, so we can put the poll up on our social media, is who will be the biggest breakout player for the Cowboys this season? You can join the conversation on our Specs text line. 512-337-3776 is the Specs text line. There are some easier candidates. Now, I'm not counting Micah Parsons or Trayvon Diggs. Micah Parsons is going to get paid. Trayvon Diggs is going to get paid. He's already gotten paid. But Tony Pollard, we know I still think he could be a breakout. We haven't seen him as the main guy for a season. Deuce Vaughn is definitely on that list. We've got a Deuce Vaughn. The deuce gets loose is what Not an App Guy says on the Specs text line. So there is a vote for that. We could see it on the defensive end. Agent Zero for the Cowboys, breakout player. I think DeMarvion could be there. I don't know, though, because I don't know how many reps he's going to get. We know that Mike McCarthy said yesterday that Mozzie Smith was kind of more in that mode about, get ready for special teams play. We don't want to play you too much because we want you to kind of get used to having time off and then having to come back on the field. It's a weird way to prep to have other guys that aren't going to play. I don't know. Maybe it was his first preseason game, and that was how he was saying it. But it did not seem yesterday like he wanted to play the rookies a ton of minutes and give the guys a bunch of reps in the regular season. Maybe that'll change. And if DeMarvion Overshawn can show what he can do, he will definitely get playing time. He's definitely one of those candidates. Is Brandon Cooks? Brandon Cooks, it's hard to put as a breakout guy, but does he come out and challenge CeeDee Lamb for the number one spot? Do we get that? Does Michael Gallup finally show up? Does Tolbert show up and take over for Michael Gallup? Who's basically taking over a position for somebody else? Who's going to step up? I think Deuce Vaughn is an easy one to say is going to step up over Rico Dowdle or Malik Davis. I don't know if he can compete with Tony Pollard at his size, but who knows? He's looked great so far. DeMarvion Overshawn, does he get crack in and start playing that lineup more and more? And by the time we get to week 12, DeMarvion Overshawn is starting to get, 40 to 50% of the reps. Is that a possibility? Maybe. I don't know if that's what the Cowboys are looking for out of their rookies. We know it's not going to be Boss Man Fats, even though he's in the best shape. He's the best shape he's ever been. He's working the hardest. It's not going to be him. Eric Scott, maybe? Maybe you get him in there? Maybe he steps up at cornerback position as a breakout player this year. I'm just curious. Who can make it to our first Pro Bowl? One of those questions. Who do you got for us? Tell us on the Specs text line. 512-337-3776. Whoever said Cooper Rush breakout player, you're just being mean now. We know Dak Prescott's going to play this season. We know he is. Dak Prescott is not as bad as you guys make him out to be. I know you hate him. You better get used to him. He's your starting quarterback. Unless some magic if they draft. Because if you're rooting for Cooper Rush, he's never going to be the starter there. You got to hope that Cooper Rush does bad enough that they have to go draft another guy who can take his job. That's really what you need to be hoping for, is that Cooper Rush is so bad that they blow him out and have to draft a rookie in the fourth, fifth, sixth round, and that guy's your hope. That's what you Cowboys fans need to be hoping for. You got to think long term, not short term. We'll get to more of your text. We also have, the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, because it's the only thing they have better than Philly. Are you a Philly fan on there? Is that what you're going for? Dallas. Look, I don't like many things out of Philadelphia, but I will give respect to the Eagles. We come back. We talked a little bit about the Mike McCarthy only wants players on, that he wants his rookies to get some special teams reps. Well, Keelan Robinson met with the media today, and he talked a lot about special teams. We'll play some audio about that. We're going to get into more tomorrow. More of the audio. Jonathan Brooks was also talking. Jaron Thompson were both also talking to the media. We will get into more of the running back talk tomorrow. But I want to get into in this next segment before we go to the Rangers at 6:30. I want to talk a little bit of Texas Longhorns special teams and how it could be a special factor for the Longhorns this season. Little MLB talk after that. and we'll get you to the Rangers at 6:30. Right here on the Sports Complex on the Horn, 1019 AM 1260, the Horn app, and at hornfm.com. Rolling into hour 2 here on the Sports Complex. Got some sound for you from Keelan Robinson. We'll get into a little bit of something that Rangers fans are doing to piss off Yankees fans. And, man, that is one thing I think of Rangers and Astros fans to get along with. Pissing off Yankees fans. We'll get to that, and then we'll get you out at 6:30 for the Rangers pregame. John Gray on the mound today playing the Angels. Rangers just continuing to play at a high level and taking it to the Angels, making it very hard for the Astros to catch up. Astros up-0. Game's already started. Verlander on the mound. Doesn't always get a lot of run support. 5 spot put up by the Astros in the first inning. Big 5 spot. 3 home runs in that first inning. Get a big score, big number put up, big curved number put up for you there in the first inning by the Astros for Verlander, giving a little help. Hopefully they can get the win there. And the Rangers playing at 6:30 with John Gray on the mound. But let's get into some Keelan Robinson. Also, some great answers here on the Specs Timeline for the big fat poll of the day of who will be the breakout player for the Dallas Cowboys this season. I like some of these. A lot of Ancient Zeros. We're definitely going to have him on our poll. Turpin. I like KaVontae Turpin. I like that name as somebody who has a chance to break out. And I like that he wasn't really used a lot last year. They kind of want him to be in special teams. We know special teams, as far as the return in the NFL, they're trying to take it away. They're trying to take away the return in the NFL. So I don't know if he's going to be able to do it there. However, that could mean that he could step up and they could try and use him because they signed that deal. They may try and put him in the run game. They may try and use him out of the backfield. They may try and use him as a wide receiver. Seeing what they can do with KaVontae Turpin. Mike McCarthy talked today about, can you have Deuce Vaughn and KaVontae Turpin both in there? And he said, yes, both those guys can come in. And I know they're both smaller, but you can find ways to use both of them. And you have to have different personnel to run everything. So it's possible. I like that answer a lot. That may be on our poll as well. KaVontae Turpin for who will be the breakout candidate for the Dallas Cowboys this season. Join the conversation. 512-337-3776. Not a Phillies fan. Raiders fan. I feel much worse for you now. I felt, I was not a fan. If you're a Philly fan, I know, no, I'm not sad at all for you. You're doing just fine. I'm sad that you have to be in Philly, but Raiders fan, apologies for that. I tried it for a year. I tried to be a Raiders fan, and they hired McDaniels, and I just can't do it. I just can't do it. Trying to be the Patriots of Vegas, get Tom Brady as a coach. It doesn't work. The Texans tried it, and I left. It was terrible. Keelan Robinson talked to me today. We will go into tomorrow. Keelan Robinson, Jonathan Brooks, and Jaron Thompson all talked to me today. Lots of good sound. Did not have time to get to it all before the show started today, but we did get some sound of what I like what Keelan Robinson was talking about. So we'll get his running back stuff more tomorrow. We get into him and Jonathan Brooks, and then Jaron Thompson also talking about the defense of the Longhorns. We'll get into that tomorrow. But Keelan Robinson talked to media. He kind of started talking about the running back room. They asked him about some more running backs. We'll get into that tomorrow. But then they asked him a question about the expectations for running backs, because one of the things that Keelan Robinson mentioned was it's different at Texas. The expectations of running backs is different at Texas. And so you can't just be a running back. And that's something that they followed up on, and they asked, what's the different expectations of running backs for Texas other than other programs you've been at?
They ask a lot out of us. We're asked to run the ball, obviously, but then we're asked to block. We're asked to catch the ball. We're asked to set the tone. It's a lot of things that we're asked to do here. It's not like we're just running the football here. We do a lot of different things. So,
and it goes into that further through some other questions, but it's more of, hey, we're asked to do everything, and that includes special teams. And then he starts to go into what the special teams for Texas and why he enjoys playing special teams. He goes off on this for a little bit. Here's Keelan Robinson. Here's Keelan Robinson talking to me today about Texas special teams, him wanting to play it, him being okay playing it, his mindset playing it.
I don't think it's just me. I think it's the entire special teams unit. We take great pride in that. Like, I feel like when we go out there for kickoff, like, we feel like the crowd is there to see us, like, run down on kickoff, and we feel respectful of that based on what the crowd shows us. So I think just the freshmen coming in now, or the players who might not have played as much on special teams last year that'll play a lot more now, they saw how every time we took the field, how, like, we had pride in being on special teams and going down there and making the play, getting the crowd hyped up, getting the team hyped up, and they just want to emulate that. And NFL teams love that. You can hear the scouts now raving about what Demo's doing on special teams, Rowe, and anybody. We just take pride in special teams around here.
Mentioning Demo and Roe Johnson, all those. It's a great idea and a great message to give to your team to, hey, man, I know you're not going to be able to – we're not going to have everybody play, every snap. You're not going to be a starter on offense. You're not going to be able to get every carry. You're not going to get every reception. You're not going to be able to be in that. You're going to have to sometimes be in, the twos and scrimmages in practice. You may be in the threes sometimes. But if you promise to work hard, you're going to play in these games. And if you can take pride in what you do and take real pride in being a Longhorn and playing for Texas, not just playing at Texas, playing for Texas, then you can be a part of something that he says he takes pride, along with the rest of that special teams, for coming out and they feel, man, if we get the crowd amped up and they know that first kickoff and whether they're returning it and they get it out to even the 35 and the crowd goes for them, or they come down and get a big stop or in a punt, a big play, they get a block, something like that. He understands how much that can shift the momentum, but that's part of the culture of Texas building. Is it's not a demotion to be on special teams. No, because you know what? In the NFL, they want special teams guys because, man, you may not be. Keelan Robinson, look, they're not paying running backs a ton of money right now. They've got a ton. There's an overload of running backs. But you know what? If you show what you can do at multiple different levels, you show what you can do, you got a job. They want you because you're at least going to make the practice squad. And if you can practice harder than everybody else, and if you have that right mentality of focus, of patience, and work ethic to go out there and play every day, man, that's what makes a difference of a team. And then, if you're playing 100% on special teams and somebody goes down or somebody's having a down game and you're able to come in and step up, that's when you get your opportunity. And you're not feeling bad for yourself. You're not playing out in your head what would happen on the play. You're thinking about something else. You're focused on what you need to be doing. So it's easier to remain focused and easier to remain in the zone to play at a higher level, to be amped up for the game, to be ready for your moment when the opportunity comes. So Keelan Robinson being out here and playing hard on special teams means that when he does get in the game and he becomes that electric receiver, he's ready to go because he's amped up from the opening kickoff. He's amped up to play in this game. And it's a great mindset to have your team on. And it's one of those special things about Jeff Banks. And one of the reasons why Saban was not thrilled that Sark took Jeff Banks with him from Alabama, it's one of the reasons Sark really wanted to have Jeff Banks. It's not only because he's a great recruiter. We've seen how he's recruited in his personal life. But we know that he is a great recruiter. He's a great leader of men. And unfortunately, at some point, he's probably going to get another bigger opportunity from Texas and move on. But until then, he is a great piece of Texas. Here's Keelan Robinson talking about, he said, man, special teams meetings, Jeff Banks meetings are the most fun. Here's Keelan Robinson talking about why special teams is fun and why he enjoys doing it.
It's really Coach Banks. He just drills it into our heads every day. And I would say that his meeting is probably the most entertaining, the most fun meeting out of any meeting that we might have that day. And so, he just makes special teams fun. And, it's just something to take serious. He take pride in it, like I was saying. And there's a lot of money to be made on special teams, too. Everybody knows that they ain't going to be the star, So you got to find another way in addition to what you're doing offense or defense to put money in your pocket. So.
How do you his meetings so entertaining?
He lets loose. He just tell us to go out there and just have fun, the schemes, the competitions, and he'll find memes of players, photos that you might not want everybody else to see, but he put it up there, this person versus that person. It's real fun, So yeah, it's just, I don't know, he makes it his own. Special teams is his own separate thing of offense and defense, but he brings it together and it's his own life,
That's what you love to hear. And you got to love a guy who can't, those special things about charisma. Charisma is sometimes you can't describe why someone's charismatic. They just are. Or charm or something like that where you go, I don't know what it is about that person. Jeff Banks seems to have that quality and run meetings where you go, I don't know why we're having the most fun at his meetings, but his meetings seem like special teams is something you want to do. And he can hype you up. He can get you ready to go and attack. And that's why Texas had a really good special team and some great plays trying to block punts, trying to change momentum, is because these guys want to go out there and play, and you're getting good top caliber players that in some other programs, some 5-star guys, some 4-star guys may not really be set on playing special teams. Man, I came here to play running back. That's what I came here to play, and that's what I'm going to play. But in Texas, that's not the mentality because they say, no, you don't get this. We're preparing you for the NFL. We're preparing you for your next step. And we're preparing you to be the best player and person you can be. And the special teams is where a lot of this starts, because if you don't know about having to pay your dues in life and not having to step up and do some things that you may not want to do to pave the way so you can move forward, it's going to be harder for you in life to move forward, because you're always going to be working on something that you haven't worked so hard to get to. If you're constantly focused and working on practice on special teams, and then you got to find time to do the thing you love, it shows you if you're going to be the type of player to do that extra time. But if you're just sitting running drills for running back and not working on special teams, you may not be ready when your number's called and when you got to fill in to do something else. And then they asked Keilan Robinson, what are his goals for this season?
Special teams this year, I definitely want. I need a block for sure. I'm going for 2 minimum. I'm going for a minimum 2 returns on kickoff return or any other kind of returns I get. And just hoping everybody, like I said, making that block or making sure this person knows their assignment so that we all eat.
So we can all eat, is what Keilan Robinson says. So he says, I want 2 blocks and 2 touchdowns. That's kind of, I just like to have 2 touchdown returns and 2 blocks. Nothing big. Nothing big. I'll take those 2 on special teams. But then I also want to make sure that I got everybody in the right spot and that I'm leading this team and that I'm helping push forward this special teams unit and pushing forward this team and making my impact. I've said before about Roschon Johnson that I think his impact, if Sark is able to take this team in the Sark regime and in the Sark era of football at Texas, if it is able to take that next step and get to being at the standard of Texas that has not been in several years, if that can happen, Roschon Johnson is going to be one of the biggest unsung heroes of this game, because his ability to do this, his ability to switch to running back, then switch to and then help out in special teams and wherever you need him, and being a leader, that is said at the beginning of last season, there was points where none of us really knew how to be the leader we needed to be. None of us knew, we weren't sure how to run practices, we weren't sure how to do any of this stuff, and we just kind of took it on and did it. But they took pride in that. And they took pride in being part of something that was going to grow. And Keilan Robinson is taking that on right now and being a part of something where he's saying, I want to be part of it. I want my stat. Of course, I want to get the 2 blocks. I want to get 2 carries. I have to have my own personal goals. But I also want to be part of a special teams unit that no one misses their blocks. And I can help set up and help get the next guys ready. Man, that right there, that's what takes a team to the next level. And so you love to hear that from Keilan Robinson. Jaron Thompson talks a little bit about special teams. Jonathan Brooks does. We'll get you that audio tomorrow. Promise you. But yes, the special teams talk from Texas, and it's been growing. It's been growing for the last couple of years, and I know we had Cameron Dicker, so the special teams, the showy part of it was really good Sark's first year. But if we go into what special teams means, of how you can kind of flip the field at points, how you can make big differences, and how you can just get young guys on this team ready to play, that's what Keilan Robinson's talking about. That's what Jeff Banks has brought into this program. And if you can tell me, man, the young guys on this team, when they're sophomores and juniors now, and when they're going into junior and senior year and they're ready, they're hungry, and they're still willing to play special teams, you go, hey, man, we need you to be a little bit more ready. We need you to be over in other places. Man, when you can talk to Keilan Robinson, you talk about, hey, man, there's not 20 carries for you, for Jonathan Brooks, and for Cedric Baxter. You're not all going to get 20-plus carries a game. But you know what? You could still be the MVP with five carries, 6 receptions, and 2 big special teams plays. You're still the MVP of the game, and he knows that. And he can still get it, and he can still go get an NFL paycheck because of what he can do across and have a wide span of skills at a football level. It's an amazing thing to see, and it's one of those reasons why you don't always value a special teams coordinator or a special teams coach. But, man, Jeff Banks is at a different level. He is at a different level. I do want to get into one more thing before we give you up to the Rangers. There's a story that came out, or a tweet that went out, I guess an X or a tweet or whatever it is that went out, by Dan Cannabio. Sounds like a Yankees fan name, from John Boy Media. And I'll play this audio, but I think this is a way, Rangers fans and Astros fans, let's unite on this. Let's get together on this. About the Rangers fans, my man Jared Sandler, who helps call the games, he has talked about how they have the fans at the Gilf are getting rowdier. this. Here's Dan Canabio on Twitter talking about something the Rangers fans are doing and why he doesn't like it.
So Texas Rangers fans are doing the roll call now. What is the roll call? It is something that Yankee fans created in the late 90s in the bleachers where you yell out every player's name until they acknowledge you. And listen, I understand the Yankees are down right now. They might have their first losing season since 1992, but you don't do this, Rangers fans. You do your own traditions. The roll call is a Yankee thing, and it always will be. Why is this making me so angry? I don't know. I'm almost more angry about this than I am about the current state of the Yankees. The roll call is a Yankee tradition, and some traditions should not be replicated. So please, kindly stop.
Keep doing it, Rangers fans. Keep doing it. I don't believe him. This is not a uniquely Yankees thing. This has nothing to do with New York. There's nothing to New York. Oh, New York's known for their roll calls. Not like you're giving them pizza or something. There's nothing New York about the roll call. You guys just had more players than everybody knew. You got famous at a time. To steal everything from the Yankees. Steal everything from them. Take it all. No sympathy for that. So Rangers fans, as an Astro fan, I fully endorse doing the roll call at every game. If it's gonna make Yankees fans mad, I am fully on board for doing the roll call. Be as loud as you want, man. I can't tell you how much I enjoy, having this back and forth. My buddy Michael Dillard, he's been going out. He's a great singer-songwriter, cool dude. He's at last 3 times I have seen him. He has specifically worn a Rangers jersey just to spite me. Just because that's what the rivalry back means. And I love it. And the one time he didn't wear it, he said it's because it was dirty and and it smelled bad. So he couldn't wear it, but he told me he wanted to. So I love it. I love that rivalry is back. I cannot wait for the series in September. I can't wait till we get to the playoffs. It's something special to have this. And I'm just thrilled to be able to be a part of when finally, both teams are in the AL, we can have a real rivalry. And we're both playing at a higher level. That Seager and Kyle Tucker are now killing it. Simeon is killing it for the Rangers. They get 6 All-Stars. They're killing it. Bruce Bochy bringing in a great, great culture to the Rangers. Everything they're doing, I love it. Now, I'd prefer if the Astros were on the winning end of this right now. And if you guys were chasing us, I'd prefer that, sure. But I got to tell you, it is a lot of fun being able to watch these Rangers play. Thanks to everybody who joined in on the Specs text line. We'll read a couple more of these. 512-337-3776. The Specs text line, 512-337-3776. The question of the day, who will be the breakout player for the Dallas Cowboys this season? Hit us up on the Specs text line, 512-337-3776. And you can vote on our social media as well once we get up there. Yeah, we have a couple more for Deuce, a couple more for Agent Zero. With Brandon Cook's attention will be split, and I think CD has his best season yet. Does CeeDee Lamb going into a contract year and he's ready to get his money? Does he come out and step another level? We played earlier the sound of talking about Jory Epstein talking about the managing the steps of Dak Prescott to get better steps. Does CeeDee Lamb do that well at a high level and is able to get to the point where where CeeDee Lamb is at another level? Can he get to there? We get some things we can't say on the radio about Yankees fans, and I love that. I'm buying extra burnt orange luggage just to go on vacation with a bunch of Sooners. Love LOL. So I love the petty. Yeah, I agree. Thank you, female listener number 1. I agree with you. The petty, I'm all for, but I love having a good rivalry. That's why it's a big deal that the Longhorns and the Sooners are going together. It's why USC is bringing UCLA. You want to have a rivalry to go with you. I'm glad to have A&M back. Still good to have little brother back. And I'm glad we gave you the first game at Kyle Field. I'm glad the Texas Longhorns gave that to you. We got to get out of here. Texas Rangers coming up next, playing the Los Angeles Angels. John Gray on the mound. Pregame comes up at 6:30. So keep tuned right here on the Horn. We'll be back more tomorrow, a full show tomorrow here on the Sports Complex. We'll have sound from some more UT players. We'll be talking a lot about UT running back room, all of that stuff coming up tomorrow right here on the Sports Complex. Until then, be safe out there. Be kind to each other and to yourself. Keep your underwear clean. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.